talking to them, and then one day this sentence floated into her mind, and it was just, how can an operation that is only done on women turn me into a man? And it was like the whole thing, the whole past 5 years just unwound. And she was back and she was like, all of this was nonsense. And I listened to her tell this story, and I just sat there and I thought, oh, hell, they are sterilizing gay kids.
Woofta! That's a way to begin. Yes, sterilizing gay people. Yes, this is Helen Joyce. She is brought to you by the Triggernometry folks. We're going to take a look at what she has to say. Please watch to the end. The ending is rather crazy. She goes into detail about a detransitioner, and that story will scare the bejesus out of you. So let's look at Helen Joyce.
But during that time, I got interested in this strange new idea that men could be women and women could be men. And I eventually became so interested in that, I wrote a book about it called Trans: When Ideology Meets Reality, which came out now a year and a half ago. And then became so interested that I left that job and go and work with Sex Matters, which is a human rights organisation which focuses on sex-based rights, so the human rights that are sex-based. People normally, they notice and they think what's happening in schools with indoctrination of kids, or they notice that there are men playing in women's sports because they say they're women, or they notice that women's spaces like refuges and so on are under threat, or they just notice the sexism of saying that how you perform sex stereotypes is what makes you a man or a woman. And of course, I think all of those things too, but that wasn't what I noticed first. What I noticed first was that if you say trans women are women, that's logically equivalent to saying a woman is anyone who says they're a woman. And that's a circular definition. And that bothered me because it just didn't seem right. But I didn't know for a while, like, why, what sort of problems it would create. So for me, the journey in was that sort of, highfalutin, whatever, intellectual journey. Like, this doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound like something that you can base laws and policies and rules and regulations on. And so it proved. If you destroy a core definition like that, it's amazing how it pops up all over the place in rules and regulations and laws.
So this was a really good explanation of why most people on the right have gotten into this debate. Although the left side likes to call us transphobes and whatever, and we're so scared of them. No, most of us are libertarians. We really do not care what you do. But when you start redefining the word woman, lots of things become problems. Oh, I don't know, like medical associations changing woman into birthing people or people who menstruate. Yeah, could that be a problem? Or I'm a girl, so I can take away your sports award. Or I'm a girl, so I can walk into your locker room. If you destroy the definition of women, it has consequences all throughout society. And that is what the right is fighting against.
Like all really interesting and strange phenomena, it's a perfect storm. Like a lot of things arrived at the same point together. I think there probably have always been people who have thought that they would like to be the opposite sex or that they were meant to be the opposite sex. And we used to know until we'd forgotten like how that worked out, like how that happened. And so, in the 70s and 80s, there were these prospective studies where they identified little boys who said ardently that they thought they were meant to be little girls. And they followed them into adulthood, and what they were was gay. Because there's a strong, very strong link between being really highly gender non-conforming in childhood, early childhood, and growing up to be gay. So those kids, they look around them. They're not born thinking I was meant to be a girl or I was meant to be a boy. They look around them and they think, why am I so different? Why are people treating me like this? Why do I not fit in? Why does my dad drag me out to rugby matches and grab my Barbie doll away from me or whatever, So those kids, they learn from the society that they're in that they should have been the opposite sex. There's always been that. And so some of those kids just grow up and they work out they're gay and that's fine. I mean, I should say it's not all that they're gay, but anyway, it's just like strong statistical link. So there was always that. And then along came medical technology that allowed, some surgeries and so on, quite brutal surgeries and not terribly effective still. But anyway, those surgeries started. Then I do think the academics had something to do with it. There's this whole move, postmodernism, what they call the postmodern turn, which is when you stop thinking that words describe reality and you start thinking that words create reality.
I think she's right here, although I would put a lot more emphasis on social media. Social media has placed a television broadcasting studio into everybody's home. There has been crazy people all throughout history, but now we get to see all the crazy people, and they're highlighted on TikTok and YouTube. I am guilty of this. Half of my channel is showing you crazy people. And it's because it's more like, what we see all these people are crazy. What is going on and what is happening? But imagine if you're young and you're seeing these crazy people and you think this is reality. And with gender nonconforming children, we have lots and lots of data on this, that if they're left alone, they will grow out of gender confusion. And a lot of them will just be gay. A lot of them will just be gay, which is fine. But you don't want to take someone who is just gay and confuse them into thinking they're the opposite gender.
So that's that bunch. And then the little boys, yeah. I mean, they're very effeminate little boys, and there's still a lot of homophobia out there. You know, there really are people who look at a little boy in a dress who says that his favourite toy is a Barbie doll and think, we'll see about that. And then the adult men, I mean, you know, the fact is probably 3 to 5% of men are erotic cross-dressers. Like, we knew that, you know, those surveys were done before this latest pretense that men can be women. They find this an erotic idea, to be a woman, to inhabit the role of a woman. You know, you would have kept that at the weekend and cross-dressing parties, maybe, you know, between you and your wife 20 years ago. Now you're stunning and brave, and out that lady comes, and you get societal plaudits for what is actually just an erotic interest.
Okay, she drops 2 bombshells right in a row. We've known for a very long time that transgenderism was mostly in boys. That there were girls who were transgender, yes, but it was very, very, very small portion of transgender people. But transgender boys have been around for a very, very long time. And there's lots of studies on those that found that, yes, they do feel like they're in the wrong body at a very young age. But a large portion of those people are not transgender. They're just gay boys, okay? So you can't transition a young child because you don't know if that child is just confused because of their sexuality. And if you let them be what they would, just let them grow up, they would just be a gay man. If you jump the gun, you could create a serious problem. And that now you have a young boy where you transitioned them to a girl and they just should have been a gay man, which is super, super sad. And then there's another group which we can't talk about. And this video will probably be, you know, suppressed because I'm talking about it here. But there is a percentage of men who are turned on by seeing themselves dressed up as a female. And we can't pretend that that is not there. And we cannot pretend that we are not celebrating them now and they get even more jollies off of it because women can't say anything when they walk into their locker room. Okay? These are real facts. These are real things in society and we have to face them.
Well, the thing is that there's a big difference between that particular erotic interest, the interest in being a member of the opposite sex, and other erotic interests, which is that if you say it, you ruin it. So if a man's entire erotic identity is wrapped up around being a woman, it's not about pretending to be a woman, it's about being a woman. And the moment when you say, you don't pass, or, well, you know, fair enough, like play at being a woman if you want, but don't use the women's toilets, or something like that, you've just destroyed the whole thing. it's not a role play in the way that other things are. The magic is ruined, yes. So it's the love that would really rather you did not speak its name. And so for those people, part of the erotic interest is in stopping people talk about the fact that it's an erotic interest. And also getting other people to play along, because you can't be a woman or be a man really on your own anymore. Like, it's about moving around the world as that. And that, because there are no places that you can go and be a woman or be a man anymore, except places that only men or only women are meant to go, it actually means that you must go and try and use women's spaces. That's the thrill. I'm not trying to be unsympathetic when I say it's an erotic fixation. Like, erotic fixations can be pretty miserable.
This is super deep. I never thought of it this way, but I think she's right. Part of the fantasy is having a woman look at that person and affirm them. And if we say, no, you can't go into that woman's locker room, that bursts the bubble, and that's why they fight so much to get into that girl's locker room.
But also they're comorbidities, as the doctors say. You see them together. So very often you'll see a kid, like some of the kids who are seen at the gender clinics now will have 5 or more conditions.
Wow.
So you'll be talking about somebody who's on the autistic spectrum, is trans-identified, is cutting themselves, has an eating disorder, and is anxious. And unfortunately, you walk into a gender clinic with that combination of things and they go, oh, you're trans. Like, instead of saying, show me your arms, can I see those marks on your arms, please? Talk to me about that. Or, you're very thin, can we talk about that? So
you're getting someone, sorry to interrupt, Helen, but I think this is important to emphasize. You're getting someone who's clearly extraordinarily distressed.
Yes.
And you're going, oh, well, your explanation for this is the right one. Okay, let's go along with it.
But so the day I decided to do it was the day that I met my first detransitioners. And as it happens, they were all girls and all lesbian. But that's absolutely not the case generally. That's just what this group was. And one of them was 23, and she had been very severely bulimic in her teenage years and had been hospitalized a few times because she was going to die otherwise. And then when she was 18, she unfortunately looked up online if it was possible to get your breasts removed without having breast cancer. Like, she wanted, for reasons to do with weight. Like, she was trying to get rid of them, like, they were tiny, but she wanted to get rid of them. And she found top surgery. And a week later, she had decided that she was a trans man. And when she went to a gender clinic, the therapist said to her, that's why you're trying to starve yourself, because you're not meant to have curves because you're really a boy. And so she told her parents, and her parents were delighted because they had seen their daughter nearly die. And they were like, yeah, if this is going to save you, you do this. So she got her ovaries removed, her uterus removed, she took testosterone. She was getting ready for phalloplasty, which is the most brutal surgery imaginable, where they take off an enormous chunk of either your leg or your arm and turn it into a fake. And, A, it's very non-functional, and B, enormous numbers of complications. And, none of it made her any happier. Like, she was still starving herself. So she looked online then, what do I do after a hysterectomy? Because she still felt terrible, because they lied to her about how easy all these operations are. Hysterectomies are really tough operations. And she was only 21 when she had hers. And she found all these sites of women who had uterine cancer or, that sort of thing. And they were very supportive. She started talking to them, and then one day this sentence floated into her mind, and it was just, how can an operation that is only done on women turn me into a man? And it was like the whole thing, the whole past 5 years just unwound. And she was back and she was like, all of this was nonsense. And I listened to her tell this story, and I just sat there and I thought, oh, hell, they are sterilizing gay kids.
Wow. Okay. That is super, super heavy story, but it's not the first time you've heard it, have you? A lot of these detransitioners are coming out now, and what is coming out is these are mentally challenged young people, and we have a mental health crisis for young people. It has a lot to do with COVID. They were locked down for 2 years. It has a lot to do with social media, with TikTok, all of this stuff where if you're my age, you never had to deal with any of this. Imagine a young girl looking at TikTok and seeing all these perfect women with their filters, and they try to live up to that. And the sexualization of kids younger and younger and younger, and girls are like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And then if you're confused when you're young, maybe you're gay, all of a sudden you're a young girl and you're attracted to another young girl in your class and you're like, I don't want that. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe I'm a boy. That's it. Okay, guys. So the full clip is below. Please watch it. This lady and these trigonometry guys, the trigonometry guys are awesome. They have some of the most awesome guests. So please go to their channel and subscribe as well. But let's get this out there. She has got some important stuff that she is talking about, and we need to start talking about this. We need some research. We need some people looking into that. We need people to really question what is going on right now. Okay. So thank you guys. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, like, comment. Let's pass this around. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.